What if your natural remedy is the hidden reason your blood pressure won't come down, no matter how clean you eat or how faithfully you take your medication? And what if it's something you're consuming almost every day, thinking it's harmless? I'm talking about licorice. Not the obvious candy alone, but the herbal tea, the digestive supplements, the adrenal support formulas. The products marketed as gentle, traditional, and safe. Because here's what most people don't realize. Licorice can override a critical hormone protection system in your body. When that happens, your body starts holding on to sodium, dumping potassium, retaining fluid, and tightening your blood vessels. Your blood pressure climbs. Your heart works harder. You might develop muscle cramps, irregular heartbeats, or numbers on your monitor that suddenly make no sense. And the most alarming part? Many people, and even some clinicians, don't immediately connect these symptoms to licorice. In this video, I'm going to expose the real biological mechanism behind this effect and show you how to protect your heart without falling for the natural equals safe myth. Here's where most people, and even mainstream health conversations, get this completely wrong. When someone's blood pressure rises, the focus immediately goes to salt intake, stress, weight, or genetics. And while those factors absolutely matter, they don't explain everything, especially not when someone's numbers suddenly become harder to control despite doing all the right things. What almost no one asks is this: what if something is interfering with your body's hormone balance behind the scenes? Licorice is often marketed as a gentle digestive aid. It's promoted for acid reflux, stomach ulcers, adrenal fatigue, and inflammation. You'll even see it recommended in natural health circles as a supportive herb for stress resilience. But here's the problem. Those conversations usually ignore how licorice actually behaves inside the body. Most advice focuses on symptoms. If your blood pressure goes up, you're told to reduce sodium. If you retain fluid, you're told to cut carbs or drink more water. If you have muscle cramps, maybe you're told to take magnesium. That's symptom management. The real issue is deeper. Licorice contains a compound called Glycyrrhizin, and this compound doesn't just soothe your digestive tract. It interferes with a critical enzyme that protects your hormone balance. Under normal circumstances, your body carefully regulates cortisol, your primary stress hormone. Cortisol is powerful. It affects blood pressure, fluid balance, metabolism, and immune function. But your body has built-in safeguards to prevent cortisol from overstimulating certain receptors. Licorice disables part of that safeguard. When that protective enzyme is blocked, cortisol starts acting in places it shouldn't, specifically on mineralocorticoid receptors. These receptors are normally activated by aldosterone, a hormone that tells your kidneys how much sodium to retain and how much potassium to excrete. When cortisol begins stimulating those receptors excessively, your body behaves as if aldosterone levels are high, even when they're not. And what does aldosterone do? It tells your kidneys to hold on to sodium and water and to dump potassium. So now you're retaining fluid. Your blood volume increases. Your blood vessels experience more pressure. Your potassium levels drop. This is not a minor shift. Low potassium alone can trigger muscle weakness, cramps, fatigue, and in severe cases, irregular heart rhythms. And here's the dangerous part. If you're already dealing with hypertension, this mechanism stacks on top of it. Your medication may seem less effective. Your readings may fluctuate unpredictably. You may think you're failing at diet or stress control, when in reality, a hidden hormonal interference is driving the problem. That's the root cause most people miss. It's not just too much salt. It's not just stress. It's not just genetics. It's a biochemical override triggered by something labeled as natural and safe. Now let's slow this down and make it crystal clear. Inside your kidneys, there's a very important enzyme with a long name. 11-beta-hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase type 2, or 11-beta HSD2 for short. Don't worry about memorizing it. Just think of it as a security guard. Its job is simple. It protects specific hormone receptors from being overstimulated by cortisol. Here's why that matters. Your body has something called mineralocorticoid receptors. These receptors are designed to respond to aldosterone, the hormone that controls sodium and potassium balance. When aldosterone binds to these receptors, your kidneys retain sodium and excrete potassium. That's normal physiology. But here's the twist. Cortisol can also bind to those same receptors. In fact, cortisol circulates in much higher concentrations than aldosterone. If nothing stopped it, cortisol would constantly activate those receptors, and your blood pressure would stay elevated all the time. That's where the security guard comes in. 11-beta HSD2 converts active cortisol into inactive cortisone in the kidney. This prevents cortisol from hijacking those mineralocorticoid receptors. It's a brilliant protective system. Now enter licorice. The glycyrrhizin in licorice inhibits that enzyme. The security guard steps away from the door. Suddenly, cortisol is free to bind to receptors it normally wouldn't overstimulate. Your body now behaves as if aldosterone is extremely high, even though your actual aldosterone levels may be completely normal. This condition even has a name, apparent mineralocorticoid excess, and the downstream effects are predictable. Step 1. Your kidneys increase sodium reabsorption. Sodium pulls water with it, so fluid volume increases. Step 2. Potassium is excreted at a higher rate. Your blood potassium levels begin to drop. Step 3. Increased fluid volume raises blood pressure. Blood vessels experience more internal pressure. The heart must pump against greater resistance. Now imagine this happening gradually over days or weeks of regular licorice intake. You may not feel dramatic symptoms at first, maybe just mild bloating, maybe slight fatigue, maybe muscle tightness in your calves. But as potassium continues to fall, electrical stability in your heart can be affected. Potassium is essential for proper cardiac conduction. Low levels can predispose to arrhythmias. And because this mechanism mimics high aldosterone, lab tests can sometimes confuse clinicians unless they specifically consider licorice exposure. What makes this particularly deceptive is that it doesn't feel like a drug side effect. It feels subtle, incremental. You might simply think your blood pressure is acting up. But biochemically, what's happening is very real. You've disabled a protective enzyme. You've allowed cortisol to overstimulate mineralocorticoid receptors. You shifted your sodium-potassium balance. You've increased blood volume, all from something labeled herbal. This is why understanding mechanism matters. When you understand the pathway, the symptoms stop feeling random. And once you see the mechanism clearly, the next logical question becomes, what should you actually do about it? Now let's shift from mechanism to action. If licorice can interfere with your hormone protection system, what should you actually do, especially if you care about your blood pressure and heart health? Here are the steps I recommend. Number 1, check every label. Licorice isn't always obvious. It may appear as licorice root, Glycyrrhiza glabra, or glycyrrhizin. It's commonly found in digestive blends, adrenal support formulas, herbal teas, and even some traditional cough remedies. If you have hypertension, or even borderline high readings, you should be extremely cautious with regular intake. Awareness is the first layer of protection. Number 2, avoid chronic daily use. Occasional small exposure is very different from daily consumption. The risk increases with consistent intake over days to weeks. Many reported cases of elevated blood pressure or low potassium happened after regular use, not a single serving. If you're using licorice therapeutically, duration matters. Number 3, consider DGL licorice instead. DGL stands for deglycyrrhizinated licorice. In this form, the glycyrrhizin, the compound responsible for inhibiting that protective enzyme, has been removed. That means you can still potentially support digestive health without triggering the mineralocorticoid effect. If you're specifically using licorice for reflux or stomach lining support, DGL is generally the safer option for individuals with blood pressure concerns. Number 4, monitor your potassium and blood pressure. If you've been consuming licorice regularly and notice higher readings, muscle cramps, fatigue, or swelling, it's worth discussing lab testing with your healthcare provider. Checking serum potassium can provide important clues. Do not ignore symptoms like heart palpitations or unusual weakness. Number 5, rebalance intelligently. If exposure has occurred, simply removing licorice is often enough for the body to normalize over time. Supporting potassium intake through whole foods, such as leafy greens, avocados, and beans, may help restore balance, depending on your individual medical situation. But do not self-prescribe potassium supplements without medical guidance. Too much can be dangerous as well. Number 6, respect natural products. This is the larger lesson. Natural does not mean neutral. Plants contain pharmacologically active compounds. Some are helpful, some require caution. The key is understanding mechanism, dose, and context. When you approach herbal remedies with the same respect you would give a medication, you protect yourself from unintended consequences. The goal is not fear. The goal is informed use. Because once you understand how something works, you're no longer guessing. You're making intentional decisions for your cardiovascular health. Now, if licorice can quietly interfere with your blood pressure through hormone pathways, imagine what other natural substances might be doing behind the scenes. Electrolyte balance, adrenal hormones, and blood vessel health are deeply connected. And one of the biggest overlooked factors in hypertension is potassium deficiency itself. And if you haven't watched my video about the real role of potassium in controlling blood pressure, I've placed that video right here. Check it out.